2017 has been a great year for gaming, with many amazing titles and even a few masterpieces. However, just like any other year, there were also a few terrible games released upon the general public. The titles on this list are all extremely bad and should be avoided at all costs. Get ready for our top 10 worst games of 2017. What can we say about 1-2 Switch? We haven't been so disappointed with the Nintendo game since Wii Music. This launch game for the Nintendo Switch gave us a few superficial tech demos camouflaged as minigames. It would have been tolerable as a pack-in game, but the fact that Nintendo is selling this as a standalone, full-priced game is just shameless. The minigames have almost no gameplay and are over before you know it. This could have been a great sequel to Wii Sports, but instead it's a collection of tech demos that's just not fun to play. Developer Ready at Dawn made a big misstep this year with Deformers. The guys behind The Order 1886 tried their hand at making an arena combat game. This multiplayer game has very boring gameplay as you're forced to simply ram into opponents. The shooting's absolutely terrible and the level design leaves a lot to be desired. It's also impossible to find other players online, so you're stuck with local couch multiplayer. Maybe Ready at Dawn thought they were making the next Rocket League, but it turned out they're making a huge steaming pile of garbage instead.
So is this it? You're wanting to kill me too?
The Last Guardian had one of the worst development cycles of all time. It was delayed so many times because it turned out to be rather difficult to program a giant beast that follows you around. That's why it's baffling to see that UK developer Spiral House tried to make a similar game. Troll and I is a glitchy mess and on many occasions even completely unplayable.
I didn't want to do that.
The unique setting and few interesting ideas it does have are ruined by broken game mechanics. Looks like Spiral House really trolled fans of The Last Guardian with this cheap knockoff.
What could possibly go wrong?
Literally no one was asking for a new Bugsy game in 2017. But here we are. Bugsy, The Woolies Strike Back is one of the worst platformers of the year. The gameplay's extremely boring as you need to collect an insane amount of yarn balls. The level design is very unremarkable, and the controls leave a lot to be desired. Bugsy himself is also extremely annoying with his terrible one-liners and grating voice.
MC Bubster, the Bounce Master in the game, yeah!
We can't imagine even the most hardcore Bugsy fans got a kick out of this terrible platformer.
I win! I'm unstoppable!
Speaking of things that should have stayed in the past, let us introduce you to Double Dragon 4. This sequel to the epic beat-em-up series from the early 90s was really disappointing. The developers literally added nothing to the formula, which makes the gameplay feel very dated in 2017. You're simply mashing out the same combos as you punch and kick your way through a bunch of ugly levels. The simplistic beat-em-up action didn't age well, and fans of the series are better off revisiting the original games instead.
This is where Daddy grew up? In this shithole?
Anne, what's your language? Yes, this is Daddy's hometown.
Husk shows just how hard it is to create a good psychological horror game. Every time it tries to build tension, that tension is immediately undone by loads of glitches and other technical issues. The execution is so bad that it's nearly unplayable. When the game does work, you're treated to terrible combat that looks ridiculous. And when you're not fighting, you're going through loads of boring stealth sections. The gameplay is so bad that it's hard to take the emotional story of the game seriously. Husk is a frustrating mess that should have stayed in development until it was a little more polished.
Saber-tooth tiger!
Tyrannosaurus!
Movie tie-in games still exist in 2017, and they're still bad judging by Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle. This side-scrolling beat-em-up has the most basic gameplay the genre has to offer. The controls are terrible as you're forced to mash attack buttons and run to the right. It doesn't help that the graphics look like that of a Flash game you can play for free on the internet. We feel bad for kids that got this game from their parents because they liked the movie so much. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle is hot garbage in a colourful wrapper. Reservoir Dogs Bloody Days is a bad Hotline Miami ripoff that really missed the mark this year. If it wasn't for the name, we probably wouldn't have even noticed its release. However, just slapping a license on something doesn't make it great. Reservoir Dogs Bloody Days feels like a shallow imitation of the famous Tarantino movie. It has a pretty interesting time rewind mechanic, but even that gets old after a while. The gameplay is extremely repetitive, and it won't be long before you start hating the one-liners that were simply ripped from the movie. You're much better off just watching the actual movie again instead of playing this piece of trash. We loved the original Road Rash back in 1991, so we were very excited to hear that we were going to get an unofficial sequel this year. Unfortunately, Road Rage turned out to be a disgrace to the motorcycle combat genre. The game promised to give us biker fighting action in an open world. However, the open world is so bare-boned it's almost insulting. The graphics, sound design, and animations are all terrible to the point of being embarrassing. The story is also an absolute joke, thanks to extremely bad voice acting.
All the Subtroid lowlifes will be after you now. Won't be easy from here. Not if I take them out first.
It almost seems that everything that can be technically wrong with a video game is wrong with Road Rage. However, there was an even worse bike game this year, and the honor goes to Vroom in the Night Sky on the Nintendo Switch. We know the system needed a wide variety of games at launch, but we still can't forgive Nintendo for allowing this garbage to exist in the eShop. The fact that this game reminds us a lot of Superman 64 really says it all. You have to collect a bunch of stardust on your magical bike that flies through the air. The game can be finished in about an hour, which makes it a blatant and desperate cash grab. Room in the Night Sky is our worst game of 2017 and should be avoided at all costs. Those were the 10 worst games of 2017. What's the worst game you played this year? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Can you even understand what I'm saying? Blah 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 blah.